Hi, this is Linda with Casey Creations by Linda, taking you on a tour of my latest creation. It's called The Titanic, and it is an historical book about the launching and the sinking of the Titanic. It has a hardcover. It measures 9 by 6, and it has a 4-inch spine. On the front, I have got some heavy rope, which represents the ropes that they tied the ship to the dock. And I've got some lace across the top, stained with coffee, to represent the elegant dresses that the first-class ladies wore. On the rope, held by little bulb pins, there's an anchor, a little ship, and a wheel. It does have 2 signatures tied in with the brown twine. Open it up. Here's some of our first-class passengers. The first signature is tied with some torn sari silk. We've got a little flip here. I've cut around the pocket there. When I make pockets, they all complete the image underneath. As you can see there, same thing. And here's about the White Star Line service to all parts of the world, and the Titanic, which is going to launch Saturday, April the 20th. All the cards and tags are backed with another layer of lined cardstock, which gives you more places to journal on. Pull out from the top. There she is, triple screw steamer. Little tag says Titanic's, tied with some jute. Slides right back in there. And it flips open. Angled pocket here. There's some of the ladies going to the ballroom. Here is She Cannot Sink, says officials of the White Star Line. Absolutely no fear is entertained for the safety of the passengers. There she is, just finishing her up. I'm going to launch her. And here is one of your third-class tickets to London. On this side, there's a flip. Again, I cut out around the trunk and the ticket there. It shows a smaller picture of what was on the cover. And there she is, showing the deck so you can find your room. There's a boarding pass. And the White Star Line, this is for your luggage, and I put a little luggage tag. This is from Digi and SVG Designs for You. I just made it smaller. I just love it. It's so cute. It's tied with some twine. And it flips open. Again, I've cut out the little luncheon menu there around it. Shows one of the first-class bedrooms. And here's another advertisement for the Titanic, launching Wednesday, April the 10th from Southampton. And this is your pass that you can get into the stands to watch her maiden voyage when she launches. Here's some stationery. And here I've cut out around the lady there. I'll show you. Cut around her hat with the feather and everything. And this is just a little notebook. I fussy cut out one of the trunks. It says White Star Line, Titanic, passengers. And you just lift it up. And this moves, as you can see. Pop up, and then you just pop it out, and you've got some hidden cards under here. Here is some International Mercantile Marine money. It is 10 shillings. And here is a third class. It's a passenger contract ticket. And these are original, they're copies of the original documents that was in the Titanic that they used for the passengers and your baggage and all that good stuff. Slides back in the pocket, and we flip it over. This is some kind of caramel looking lace that I tied. Got a little flip here. Completes the image, as you see. It's another advertisement, world's largest liner. And there she is. And you flip it open, angled pocket. And that shows all the lounge chairs sitting out with the tables where people can look out, see the ocean. There's the White Star Line. They had two of these big ships. One was called the Olympic and the other was the Titanic. And there are 45,000 tons. It's amazing. And there's just a little picture of her. And then we've got a flip over here. There's the stately people walking on deck. Another advertisement, first class ticket to New York. And they are in berth number 30. Here it is, Southampton to New York. It swings open again. Got an angle pocket, completes the ship. And we got a little thing here. It is for your name, where you're going to stay, what date you're sailing. And another one about the Titanic. And here I've cut around the little passenger list and the little hat that's on top of all the trunks there. There's some more first class travelers. Here's a luncheon ticket showing you what they're going to eat for lunch on April 14th, 1912. And here she is again. She cannot sink. Well, she did, because what happens, so they can make more staterooms for the first class, is instead of 2 layers of the premium steel for her hull, they cut it down to 1 layer of cheaper. And so therefore when they hit the iceberg, it was very easy to tear through just the one. Plus the bolts were also cheap and snapped off, just so they could have more staterooms. And then here we have another one. Here's the people all going to watch her sail, Saturday, April the 20th at noon. And then on this side, I have made a belly band, and I've cut out some of the pictures. There's a little Titanic. This is some Velcro. And when you have Velcro, always put your finger into there and hold the bottom, because this is cardstock, and even though it's premium cardstock, you don't want to take a chance of ripping the little dot. Now these are authentic pictures that were taken before she sailed. This is one of the little tables you could have your breakfast at, or just sit and have a drink. Here's one of the bedrooms. Here is seating outside with the wicker chairs and tables. And here is just around the big stairway. They've got some big, nice, soft chairs, some tables. There's another sitting area in a lounge. Some of the deck chairs outside. The master dining room. One of the cigar bars. And there's our ladies sitting around the table. And I believe this is Molly Brown. She survived. And she was a cattle baroness, I guess. And she got the nickname Unsinkable Molly Brown. push it back down. Open it up. This is tied with some brown lace. We have a little flip here. There she is pulling out. Here she is, April 10th, 1912, Southampton to New York. And there's all the deck chairs there. You can see the lifeboats over here, and it's just people walking around the deck. And it flips open, angled pocket, completes the image. And here is another permission slip to watch the launch. There's our captain, Captain Smith. We have a flip going this way and completes the passenger's manifest there. And here's our captain and his first maiden crew. Another advertisement, the Queen of the Ocean. And another picture of her. And it swings open this way. Get a little thumb pull there. Wednesday, April 10th, she's going to launch. Rural and United States mail steamers. And there's a big picture of her when they have finished and they're fixing to push her out. Pocket here, we have another flip. This is a passenger ticket. It is for Johanna Joseph Vandevelli, and he is traveling to Michigan, and he is a weaver. And they had all the passengers fill out these, who they were, where they came from, where they were going, and what their occupation was. Another advertisement advertising she cannot sink. And the toilet soap that they use was, I guess, the premium for the first class. I'm not quite sure, but they were proud of it. Then it opens this way. We have a side band here. Completes the image again. Here's another immigrant pass for Charles Asplug. Not quite sure on that name. And he is also going to Massachusetts. Another advertisement. The largest and safest ship, the Titanic. Here is another one. This was from Mrs. Walter Corbett, and she is going to Provo, Utah. She's studying nursing. Then here we have an acetate belly band. You can see the young couple there. These two cards. Gives you a lot of... You can see how the band completes the image there. And then on this side, this is tied with some jute, and this is about her sinking. I've cut out all around the page there to make the pocket, and it's just all advertisements that reported her sinking. This is an actual newspaper clipping from the Call, and it is from San Francisco. All Titanic survivors on Carpathia. Rescue steamer. And Here it says, Titanic sinking, no lives lost. This is out of Vancouver. Nobody really knew what was going on. Rumors were flying around, and they were reporting that everybody was saved. There's another one. There's all Titanic passengers are safe, transferred to lifeboats. Flips open this way. Get this little guy in here. And these are actual sayings from the survivors of the Titanic that they wrote. It says, striking the water was like 1,000 knives being driven into one's body. The temperature was 28 degrees, 4 degrees below freezing. And this is from the second officer. And this is from Eleanor Smith, the captain's wife, where she is grieving over the passengers and her husband. And it says, many brave things were done that night, but more brave than by those few men playing minute after minute as the ship settled quietly lower and lower into the sea. The music they played serving alike as their own immortal realm and their right to be recorded on the rules of the undying fame. And I won't read them all to you, but there's more little snippets of what they had to say. Over here we have a flip, big pocket there. And there she is, there's the iceberg. And the music that the band played while everybody was boarding the ship and the lifeboats, and it was sinking, was Nearer, My God, to Thee. And they went down with the ship. And here they are. There's a couple coming out of their room. The water's flooding the hallway. And it opens up. And I have cut around the image again. And this is a manifest of alien passengers going to the United States. And here is another advertisement. Titanic, Great White Star Liner sinks after collision with iceberg on her maiden voyage, and 1,800 lives are reported lost in the world's greatest marine disaster. And that's a real newspaper clipping. And here is where they made a movie based on a woman that they used, one of the survivors, to tell the story so they could make the movie. Here we have a little flip. And here it shows where she departed from Southampton, going to New York. And here's where she sank, 600 miles from where they were headed. This was one of the very popular images, the little boy selling newspaper, Titanic disaster, great loss of life. And here is the sheet music of Nearer, My God, to Thee. Opens this way. We've got an angled pocket there. And there is the big iceberg there, and there's the lounge. There she is, sinking. The sinking Titanic and great sea disasters. Over here I've cut around the images, and these are things that are now laying on the bottom of the ocean. Another newspaper article, Titanic biggest liner doomed. This is from Newark. It says, ship sinking after ramming iceberg. Hundreds transferred as aid nears. This is just good bookmark. It's about our captain. And his last word was, be British, before the liner sunk. And This is J.J. Astor, lost on the Titanic, 1500 to 1800 dead. And then it flips over again. Again, tied with some torn sari silk. Little flip here. And there is the main office in New York for the telegraphs that the Titanic sent a message to, but it was so garbled they really couldn't understand what was going on. This is a very unique picture. If you look at the top of it, this is a sitting area before it sank, and this is it underwater. Another advertisement, Titanic's death list 1601, only 739 lives are saved. And it flips open again. And this is just some pictures of some of the survivors. This one is Titanic sinks, 1,500 dead. And this is from the Star Times. Then we have a little flip here. An old ticket that was left behind before it sank. Some lost items floating in the water. This is the New York Times. Titanic sinks 4 hours after hitting iceberg. 866 rescued by Carpathian. Probably 1,250 perish. And it opens up. Pocket there. You can see the water gradually going up the stairway there. There she is, the big iceberg behind her. Titanic sinks, 1,500 die. There's a belly band here. Completes the image. The piano room with the bar and sheet music floating in the water. And this is from the Fargo Forum. Gruesome details of last moment of Titanic told by the survivors. Band played Near My God to Thee as the ship sank. And there she is, and there's the iceberg. Then on this side, tied with some brown twine. A little flip going this way. Completes the image. There's our captain. There's some of the people that died with him. This is Titanic boilers blew up, breaking her in two after striking iceberg. This is from the World newspaper. There's our famous image again of the little boy. And there's one of the captain's crew looking at the map, checking out the icebergs. And it was around 12:30 in the morning when they hit it, so it was almost totally black outside. So they really couldn't see the iceberg until it was too late. There's a ghostly picture, kind of faint, of some people that were lost. This is Mrs. Smith and their little girl who survived. They were not on the Titanic. There's a picture of the big iceberg. And another one, the Daily Gate City, and it is from Iowa. Iceberg wrecks Titanic. Then on this side, here is the radio operator that was on the Titanic calling in. And it says right here that they are sinking, send help. But as I said, when they received it, it was really garbled and they really couldn't understand what he was saying. Here's some of the ladies getting ready to board the lifeboats. They're all bundled up in blankets, sitting around, waiting for their turn. And this is the illustrator's rendition of Jack and Rose running for the water. And it flips open this way. And there's a family that was lost. Another picture of the deadly iceberg. And again, a whole bunch of news articles kind of collaged on there, what they were saying. Here we have a belly band, and you have a little anchor, and you just turn the anchor, opens up. And you can see that it completes the image also. And there she is, she's beginning to lift and sink. And she sunk from the back, and the front of the ship actually raised up, and then the weight broke it in two. And again, some torn sari silk. I have a little flip here. There she is many years later on the bottom. Mrs. Smith and Captain Smith's little girl from the Daily Mirror. And it swings open. And these are two pictures I got off of the internet. Here she is sinking. Remember I told you she sunk from the back, and the nose actually raised up, and then it broke in half about here. Oh, one more. There she is sinking. And here she is many, many years later. You can see one of the submersibles, and they have circled this, whatever this was, and I don't recall. This is what had truly identified it as the Titanic. And you can see how the front just split in half, and this is the inside of the back. Over here, flip. And that was, you remember that picture, this is a rendition of it. There she is sinking. There is our captain, J. Smith. I think it was E.J. Smith. And another from the Daily Sentinel newspaper, Under the Waves, 1400 Sleep. And it swings open. And there's some of the bigger lifeboats. Again, I pulled these off the internet. I'm sure you know those pictures. Jack and Rose on the door that she's laying on. And here they are fleeing. Not the ship, but they're knee-deep in water. "1500 perish" from the Daily Gate City newspaper. Boat goes down, many lives lost. And this is Memories of the Maiden Voyage. Over here we have a belly band. Completes the image. She's sitting in one of the smaller lifeboats watching the Titanic sink. Again, we have just various newspaper and advertisement. And here is about our commander, E.J. Smith. They were 600 miles from land, April 14th, 1912. on the very back, clamped with antique brass clamp, I have made your journal. It is tied with twine, so when you find the center, you can actually remove pages or add some pages of your own. And there is, I believe, 15 double-sided pages, and when you fold those, you get 30 on each side, so you've got 60 surfaces to write on. And they're all lined. There you go. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you watching. Until next time, stay crafty. Bye-bye.